This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to see people in the chambers with us. We're anticipating that there may be people with us virtually as well. So as we get into the meeting, I'm going to talk you through how we would proceed in case you want to question or offer testimony. But let me go through some introductions first. My name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'll serve as the chair for tonight's hearings. Other members of the Zoning Hearing Board with us tonight, and I'll start at my far left. Mary Frances Stone is an alternate member who will be participating in the hearing itself and will have the opportunity to question, but she will not be a voting member on the panel. She will deliberate with us, however. Immediately coming this way would be Mr. Peter Schneck, Mr. Terry Novotny, Ms. Jessica Lee, Mr. Jim Schatz. To my immediate right is Attorney Eric Schock, who is the board solicitor and will offer legal advice to the board. Craig Pfeiffer is at the far right. He is the zoning officer for the city of Bethlehem and will also provide advice as well as other guidance from time to time. Jean Genova is seated in front of me. She is our court stenographer. I would advise you that the proceedings tonight will be treated as much like a trial. Anyone wanting to speak will be sworn in. And your testimony or questions will be included as a formal portion of tonight's record. Tonight we have 4 hearings on which we're going to deliberate, and I'd like to announce that if there's anyone here on the matter of 323 Pierce Street, that subject will not be heard tonight. It will be heard later this month. So that's 323 Pierce Street will not be heard this evening. The easiest way is to just kind of wing it and talk to you how this goes through. The person or group making the appeal will sit at the table over here, or if they're with us virtually, they will make a presentation to the board. The board will then have an opportunity to question the testimony we've heard. After the board has concluded its questions, I'll open it up to members of the audience for questions only at that time. Later, after all testimony has been received from the appellant, I will open the floor for any comments or testimony from members of the audience. So bear with me and I'll try and talk you through it. If you do wish to testify, though, we're going to ask you to go to a microphone at the podium. Give us your name and your address. Okay, and again, we'll walk you through this. The one thing I would ask of you is to refrain from repetitive questions or testimony. So for instance, if we've talked about parking on 4 consecutive questions, we think that the subject's been broached. So I'm going to probably, unless you're questioning in a different area or introducing something new, I may reserve the right to stop what you're saying. Most importantly, you should know that anyone aggrieved by the decision of the board this evening, because we will decide on each of the cases, may appeal to either Lehigh or Northampton County Court within 30 days following the issuance of the written decision of the Zoning Hearing Board. And the first hearing that we'll entertain tonight is that of 835 North New Street. Would you come to the table, please? All right, if either of you are going to be witnesses or testifying, I'd ask you to come up here because we need you to use the microphones. The second one, I'm sorry. So it's just you.
Well, you know,
that's good. You can't improve. I've got it. I've got it. Before we go through some formalities, can you tell us when the property was posted?
When the property was posted?
The yellow card or?
A week ago today. A week
All
and a
right.
day ago today.
All right, fine. Mr. Pfeiffer, will you give us the facts of the case, please?
This parcel is located at 835 North New Street. This is the appeal of John Lustig on behalf of Edgar Hernandez and Oliverio's Restaurant for a special exception to expand the days and hours of operation as a condition of approval from a zoning hearing board decision dated June 8th, 2015, approving Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., proposed Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. The record lot is 21 feet by 120 feet, or 2,520 square feet, and is located in the RT High Density Residential Zoning District.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I would ask anyone who is going to testify or question to please stand, raise your right hand and be sworn in. If there's anyone with us virtually, I don't see anyone on here. Am I correct? Okay, if anyone is interested in speaking, either questioning or testifying, please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in as well.
Raise your right hand. Just remember that God is judge of all hearts, and the testimony that you shall give in this proceeding should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and that you shall answer to God at the last day. Does that swear?
I do.
Thank you. Take a seat. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Schock, anything before we proceed?
None.
All right, the floor is yours.
Okay. First of all, my name is Chris Ann Albanese, and I am the fiance of John Lustig. He owns the property at 835 North New Street. And we are currently right now looking to increase the hours, which are currently set at 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And we're asking for consideration for the special exception to be granted for the hours to be extended to 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Sunday. The proposed persons that are going to be occupying that commercial property, they are going to be manufacturing, making, selling, retailing panini sandwiches. What was at the location before that was Johnny Lustig's Hot Dogs, Frankfurters. They were there from 2016 until last year. And unfortunately, they are no longer in business. And the gentleman that is looking to rent is also looking to operate making panini sandwiches there on the location in the same place. So it's not any bigger, it's not any smaller, it's the same parameters that we had before. He's just looking to have his 3 hours additional each day plus Sundays. He feels that that if you're going to offer food in an establishment, that you should offer it when people are expecting you to be open. And I cannot disagree with him on that.
Thank you. Attorney, excuse me, Attorney Schock, is there anything you wanted to ask just to build a record?
Yeah, I think, well, let me ask Mr. Pfeiffer the first question. So this was approved under the reuse of a corner lot provision, correct?
Correct.
Does that section remain identical in the ordinance to when the board approved it, or are there different requirements?
It is the same.
Okay. So then I would ask, are you familiar with the other requirements for a special exception for the reuse of a corner lot?
As far as
What's in the ordinance and what was approved last time?
well, I was there and I am still there, and nothing has changed
Okay.
to the best of my knowledge. We've improved the building as it is, which you can see it. That's a wonderful picture, by the way, that's up there showing it. That's a current picture. So,
Yeah, so some of them apply to the building.
okay.
Some of them apply to the use. So for example, and this one seems obvious, it does not meet the definition of an adult-oriented establishment or a BYOB club, I presume.
It does not.
Will there be frying of foods?
No, there will not.
Okay. Will there be the sale of alcohol?
No,
Again, this one should seem obvious, but it will not incorporate tattoo parlors uses or pawn shop uses.
no.
Okay. All right, so all of those were use related, but it sounds, as I suspected, like those remain identical.
So the only real change are the hours of operation and days.
If I might add also, there was no inside seating available or granted at that time, and there still isn't. It is strictly take out, pick up and carry out, not eat in.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else?
Not this time.
Questions from members of the board? Ms. Stone?
It's basically grab and go then.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and you're temporarily closed. Is there an anticipated opening of the new business?
Of Johnny Lustig's Hot Dogs.
No, the new panini shop.
He could open right now.
Okay.
He's ready to go. He has signed the lease. He's just asking us to ask for the special exception of the additional hours.
Okay. Now, also, it looks like a little picnic table on the side. It's grab and go, but would you encourage, like, someone could eat outside or
They could if they
or
want to.
little patio?
Mhm.
They're asking for
And-
extra.
And then also, you could see the little patio area with the red fence.
Yes,
Is that part of the rental upstairs, or would that be encouraged as seating, or will it be
no,
kept private?
that is part of that. That the building is in a very unusual building, meaning as it is deeded. I'm sitting here representing 835 North New Street.
Yes.
The side building that you just described is the same building.
Mhm.
It's 5 West Gep Street.
Correct.
So that part of that is not associated with 835 North New.
Okay, thank you. That's
Mhm.
all.
Thank you. Mr. Schneck?
Sure, the extended hours, would you say the area around there for the extra hours is any worse as far as parking goes? Is it harder to find parking in those hours?
It's always hard to find parking in the city of Bethlehem.
Right, so I'm just saying, it's no worse than the other times that you.
It is no worse than the other times.
Okay, that's all.
Mr. Novotny?
Looking at the picture, is there like an area where the grab and go folks can pull in, like a,
There-
limited parking area?
Thank you for asking. Out front, there is a sign that is 20-minute parking in front of, it is on North New Street. And there is a sign there that says that it is the ordinance, and it was put up by the city, not because we asked for it, but they put it there after the special exception was granted in 2016 for us to open. That sign is not on 835 or in the right in front of 835. It's actually in front of 833 North New Street, which is not our property. That is a residential, and that sign is there that says 20-minute parking only, 20 minutes, Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if the special exception were to be granted, I would ask and suggest that that sign be changed so that there's no confusion as to what the hours really are, so that people can see that those are the hours. And the parking authority would also, be aware that the hours have been changed from 11 to 6 to 11 to 9. And if I might make to make the neighbors feel a little bit better, if that sign were moved from 833 North New to 835 North New, which is where it should be anyway, that would leave one space available for 833 to park because it is a residential section. But we have that space already cornered off as grab and go.
Question for Mr. Pfeiffer, would you work with the parking authority if we were to grant this change?
So this would be actually the city engineer would have to approve the modification of that sign and the location of that space.
But it sounds like the original sign as it is now was put up in compliance with the zoning board
With the
decision.
previous decision, correct.
All right, no more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lee?
I have no questions.
Mr. Shantz?
Just one. Do you discover I know there are other sandwich shops in this, basically up and down New Street. There's Carl's Corner, there's the pizza shop, there's Victory, what used to be Victory Pizza, there's Rosanna's. Do you discover that the hours 11 to 9 p.m. are consistent with those shops as well too?
They are. Carl's Corners, I know specifically, they have a sign that's erected for parking in their area, and it's much like what we have as far as commercial, residential, you share spacing along there, and they are open 9 to 9. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And that is what the ordinance sign says for them. Now they're a whole 2 blocks away on North New, but you know, they are there. Victory Pizza also has their hours accordingly. Rosanna, she kind of goes and comes with how her business runs. Sometimes she was open on Sundays, then they would close on Sundays. So it just depended. I don't know specifically if they have it, but they're on a different quadrant for parking. But Carl's, I know for sure, it's 9 to 9.
So you're asking from us nothing different than?
Nothing really out of the ordinary.
One other question too, and forgive me. Forget it.
No, you can't get hot dogs anymore. Sorry to say.
That was going to be the question. No, actually, after opening, did you discover that the neighborhood had a downturn with when you were there, or did the group while you were there?
They wanted us open. Matter of fact, they wanted us to put a drive-through in. Well, we knew that was not going to work, but it was favorable. We have been on that corner. We live there as well. We live on the 2nd floor of the same building. And the neighborhood has embraced us very much. If anything, I think we've improved that corner, and it is the entire corner that we do have. So.
And your 2 new tenants, both in the front and the other one, both have the same intention of keeping preserve the neighborhood as well too?
Oh, absolutely, because we live there, and if we don't like what they're doing, as God would not like, as He has spoken, if we don't like what they're doing, we live above them. I don't think that they want us as their landlords to not abide by our rules, which are pretty strict.
Thank you. And actually, I was going to ask for a hot roast beef sandwich.
I bet you were.
But thank you.
Yes. Thanks.
Just one question, is the new restaurant planning to do any delivery service?
He might. He has not. Unfortunately, he's not here for me to ask him, but his whole thing was he was looking forward to extend the hours because it was all online. So they would not be standing around waiting, you know, to place their orders.
The reason I'm asking you is the impact on parking then, if there are vehicles kept for the purpose of delivery, 1 or more vehicles.
We have, there is plenty, there is a 2-car garage in the back, which is part of the property. And one of those spaces is designated for the front property. So if possible, they could definitely pull a vehicle into the garage and use that and just walk on the sidewalk to take their products out.
Did the previous business deliver at all?
Nope, we did not.
So if in fact the only change we're asking for hours of operation,
yep,
to introduce delivery service would be a little bit different twist to it.
It would be a nice twist. But as far as, I don't really see that would be an impact for delivery for people, because the car would never be there. In other words, hopefully the car would, the delivery car would be out making deliveries. And when it's not being used, it's off street. It's in the garage, which no one else can use the garage other than who's designated to use it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Attorney Shock, anything?
Just wanted to, I don't know if you said this. Did you say, you said Carl's hours are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Did you say whether Carl's is open 7 days a week?
I believe that's what the sign says. I believe it says, for some strange reason, it says Monday through Sunday. I mean, my week usually starts on a Sunday, but the signs say Monday through Sunday.
Okay. Any clarifications from Mr. Pfeiffer?
No, actually, the applicant answered my one question, so.
Okay, last bite at the apple for the board. Okay. At this time, I'd open the floor for questions on the testimony from anyone in the audience. If so, please step to the podium. Give us your name and your address, please. And speak into the microphone if you would, please. Thank you.
My name is John Lustig. I own the property 835 North New.
Go ahead, sir.
Just wanted to make one other clarification about takeout, which she didn't mention. I just wanted to jump in. And I've been having a conversation with the owner. His first name is Edgar. He plans to use a lot of on internet, Grubhub, a lot of the Ubers, things like that for his deliveries. He is not planning to have his own vehicles do it. He'll have an outside. He'll call them up, they'll come pick up, deliver.
Are you familiar with Grubhub or Uber?
Just know that there is a cost involved, that we didn't use that because, again, the price where we're at, a $2.50 hot dog, by the time I paid Uber to deliver it, I wasn't making any money on a hot dog.
Again, what I was driving at is I assume that they're called. So they're not standing by like a taxi stand waiting for
No,
business.
they're called.
Is that correct?
They're called.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Anyone else? This was supposed to be questions, but it seems like we've morphed into testimony. Anyone wishing to ask a question? Is there anyone with us virtually who wishes to ask a question? If so, please unmute your microphone and identify yourself. Seeing or hearing no one, I would then reopen the floor for any comments or testimony from members of the audience. Anyone wishing to testify? Same offer for anyone with us virtually. If so, please unmute your microphone and identify yourself. Hearing none. Ms. Albanese, is there anything you wanted to testify to in conclusion?
Nope, I'm just anxious and hopeful that it's all positive.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Schock, please.
Yeah. Lastly, Mr. Piper, did you receive any email comments related to this application?
I did.
From whom and what address?
The constituent's name is Tabitha Hackman, Hackman. I believe she lives adjacent to the subject property. I do not see on her email her specific address.
I think it's 833. I think it is somewhere in
It
the
is
bottom.
830.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I do see it is 833 North.
833 North. And did you provide a copy of that to the applicant?
I did.
Okay. And did the board receive copies?
We did.
Okay. And I take it from Mr. Fitzpatrick asking Ms. Hackman is not online. Normally, we would treat this like we do a letter we receive where the applicant doesn't show up. So do you want to admit this into the record, subject to the fact that the applicant doesn't have the ability to cross-examine the person who wrote it, and you'll take that into account when weighing the evidence?
I would, in fact. That has been our standard practice.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll mark this as a H1, and we'll admit it, subject to the qualification that Ms. Hackman is not here.
Okay. Jane, we're going to go off the record, and I'd like to go outside. Here goes the neighborhood now. Not a speck. All right, Gene, I'd like to go back on the record.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the appeal of John Lustig on behalf of Oliveri's Restaurant for the special exception to expand the days and hours of operation from Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and include one restriction to it, that if the restaurant decides to use a delivery vehicle in the near future, that vehicle, it'd be limited to one delivery vehicle, and that vehicle must use the off-street parking as testified to during this hearing.
I agree.
I'll second.
Mr. Schneck,
Yes.
Mr. Novatnik,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Shantz.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
And could I just make one
Yeah,
clarification?
if you
So
would,
the
please.
applicant knows that the conditions on the original special exception grant would otherwise remain, correct?
That's
Yes.
correct,
Okay,
Perfect,
except for the change of the hours of
except for the
operation.
change of the hours. The rest would remain the same.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you
Well,
so
Good luck
much.
with the project.
Thank you.
Greg, I assume we don't have to sanitize the tables?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
The next hearing will be that of 2 West Gep Street,
Bye.
5 West Gep Street. Bad with math tonight, sorry. And also says AKA 835 North New Street. The appellants, please come to the table. And can we free up the table for the next appeal, please?
They may need me. Yeah.
Okay, looks like we are sanitizing. All right, ladies, can you tell us when the property was posted, please?
It was 1 week and 1 day ago.
Mr. Piper, would you give us the facts of the case before we swear in?
This property is located at 5 West Gep Street, also known as 835 North New Street. This is the appeal of Madeline Scarnizzi and Jessica Zatnia on behalf of De Novo Creamery for a use variance to create a commercial restaurant, thereby maintaining one residential dwelling and one commercial restaurant and creating a second commercial restaurant, and to waive the off-street parking requirement, 2 required, none proposed. The record lot is 21 feet by 120 feet or 2,520 square feet and is located in the RT High Density Residential Zoning District.
Thank you. At this time, anyone wishing to testify, question, or offer any comments, would you please stand and raise your right hand, be sworn in. I would ask the same with anyone who's with us virtually. Please stand to be sworn in.
As you shall answer the God in the last night, that is his will.
I do.
Okay. Should we just go to you?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Floor is yours.
Thank you. So my name is Madeline Screnzi. This is Jessica Zatnia. We own a vegan ice cream company. It's all natural, GMO, and organically based. It's made with an organic coconut milk, so it's safe for anybody who has any lactose intolerance, and it does cater to the vegan community. What we're looking for is just a small grab-and-go storefront, so people can come and just grab our ice cream throughout the year. During the summertime, we will have limited hours of operation. On Saturday, right now, we're only looking from 11 until 6, which are already the proposed hours of operation for that unit. And we are also looking just to do pickups during the winter time. So we're looking for any parking, no disturbance to the community. We just want a home so people know where to find us and grab our ice cream.
Are you only open on Saturdays in the summer?
As of right now, we are both working 2 other jobs individually in order to self-fund this project. So as we grow, we'll be able to grow our business and expand the hours.
What would your hours expand to potentially?
Potentially,
Friday.
sure. We're looking at potentially a Wednesday through Sunday nights, pretty much. So maybe Wednesday and Thursday would be a 4 to 9. Friday would be expanded hours, probably noon to 9. And then we would do the same for Saturday. Sunday, we would probably open around noon until like 8 or 9 again. Primarily whenever you want to grab ice cream, basically, is what you'd be looking at.
You can continue.
Was there anything additionally you wanted to testify to?
No, we're just looking to see if we can move it from a residential unit into a commercial kitchen so we can create our product.
Okay. Is your business going to be seasonal, dedicated to the summer only, or is it year round?
It will be year round, but during the winter time, we would do home deliveries and also pickup location.
Okay, I'll come back to that a little later and open the floor for members of the zoning hearing board. Ms. Stone, question?
Yes. Is there anyone in the residence now?
No.
No, so basically empty.
Yeah, it's vacant.
Okay, vacant. So then the entire property would be for the ice cream.
Just the inside space.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would just be for the ice cream.
Okay.
Yep, so we'd be manufacturing it there.
Mhm.
We're interested in doing distribution at some point when we're able to have a facility where we can manufacture our ice cream in bulk. And so we do need that space, yeah.
For manufacture. Have
Yeah.
you done any so far? Have you been?
Yeah, actually, years ago, we opened up in 2018. We used to both work at Hardball Cider. So we rented out their commercial kitchen in order to create our product back in 2018. And they used our product on their menu. So we did well then. They closed down unexpectedly. So we ended up closing down unexpectedly. And this past year, we were able to rent out a new kitchen in Allentown to be able to create our product. And we've been doing very well so far.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And is there licensing involved with this?
There will be licensing involved, yes. So we will have to get a plumbing license, and I think that might be it. We'll have to look into that more.
Okay. And also, you again, grab and go, but would you anticipate any outside seating? You know, just another picnic table or a little patio area for, little patio tables for someone to eat their ice cream before it melts? I mean, will you be doing cones as well as cups and?
We will. Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing cones and like artisanal sundaes. So we want it to be pretty gourmet, along with milkshakes and also your grab and go pints. We're not anticipating any seating at this time. If there was a demand for it and people were asking for it, we would propose it. But as of right now, the space is pretty small. So we would just expect grab and go.
Okay. Any samples?
Sure.
Thank you. That's all.
You're welcome.
Mr. Schneck,
Sure. The property is 21 by 120, but are you at just a smaller portion of that?
We're the back end.
Okay.
So yeah, yep, that's correct.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like distribution, or even making your product. How often do you get like delivery trucks, and how are you taking deliveries? Do you require any kind of equipment to unload?
Right. Yeah. As of right now, we're so small that it's just us, and we really just need a small space, just a hub, a place where we have all of our ingredients, we have all of our product, and people know where to find us. A lot of people ask, well, where can we find you? So as of right now, we're not working in huge scale. We would obviously love to bulk up and build up to that, but oh yeah, and if we do get to a point where we do need, larger delivery trucks and stuff like that, we would actually be working with a co-packer, which has nothing to do with this premise.
Oh, okay.
So think like Ben and Jerry's, they have like this little place in Vermont, but then they got huge and like they just outsource everything.
Okay.
It's the dream. No.
So is the answer, there's no delivery trucks?
No delivery trucks, no.
So do you get the product there by your cars? I
Yeah,
guess?
coolers, yeah.
Okay, and you carry them in. Okay.
We're working on it,
And then how much waste do you produce? Is there much? And
No, yeah, no. For us, because right now it's all just pints. So really, we just make our product. It's all just product that's frozen in the pints and it goes right to the consumer.
And I'm sorry if you don't mind, Mr. Schnapp. I thought I just heard you talk earlier that you were going to sell cones and milkshakes and other things there. Those aren't in pint packages.
No, but
Well,
it's-
let me finish. That could
sure.
potentially create a refuse situation if somebody's consuming this outside the building.
I guess we can have a garbage can outside. However, they shouldn't be loitering outside. So it's a grab and go. So they should be taking their product with them. Since we don't have any seating, they're not consuming on the premise. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Schnapp.
No, that's all right. That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Novotny.
So if you could go back to the picture of the building instead of the diagram. So are we talking about the area behind the present Lustig building with the, I believe it looks like the brick wall or something?
Yes. Yep. That's
So it's
the
in
place
there.
we'd be occupying. Yeah.
So you're talking grab and go, they'll arrive, grab their product and leave.
hmm
I guess you're a little fuzzy though on whether or not you're going to have walk-up service, which obviously could create a problem on the sidewalk.
Well, yeah, we can do walk-up service.
So are you going to
Absolutely.
do walk-up service or are you asking us for disapproval for a grab and go?
Well, do you mean walk-up service as in they can come to the storefront,
Exactly. In
come
other
in,
words, you'll be-
order something and leave?
Exactly. You'll be dipping a cone or making milkshake where people will have to stand there longer than if they just come in and grab a pint and leave the building.
Right. That would be Sundays only.
But are you asking us for approval for that type of operation also?
Oh, I meant Saturday. Sorry. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that there was a difference there.
Well, I think there's a difference in the amount of congestion that will be on the sidewalk in the neighborhood.
Right. I mean, it's not uncommon to have a grab and go window at a restaurant or
For
anything
instance,
like
I'm
that.
thinking of, the cup. Obviously, that creates quite a line in the neighborhood.
Right.
So if you're having that type of operation and you're successful, you're going to have a line along the sidewalk outside the building as customers wait to come in to order their sundaes or their milkshakes or what have you.
Sure, but there is quite a bit of space behind as well. So I can't imagine that our line would really extend past the red fence. With that being said, our product does not take a long time in order to produce. So probably 5 minutes maximum for one customer.
Okay, that's my only questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Lee?
Okay. Do you have any plans for any signage out there to announce your shop?
We would definitely put a sign up there. There was a sign previously hanging in like right above the brick area there. So we would do something of that sort just so then people could see it, curbside appeal, they can see where to find us.
Okay. And are you going to redesign that entrance at all?
No,
Like from a house kind of look to, like you had, like said, like a window or?
well, there are 2 windows there. Also, there's a door on the left. So when people come, they would go into the door, which is where the storefront would be. And there would be a counter there. They can order, or they could just say, my name is,
But they wouldn't order like from an outside window,
No,
from the street?
no, the idea is for them to go in, yeah, to have the service and the experience of coming in and we can meet the customers and yeah, they can taste test then, they can see our products.
Okay, and could people use that grass area? To, like stay and eat or is that not
For
part
some,
of?
I don't know if, yeah, oh, I'm seeing it. The grass, no, that's more of a,
Is that by the garage?
oh, that's under, yeah, that's all stone. That's not part of our rental.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought it was part of that building's.
I mean, for us, we're just doing grab and go, so I don't know why they would,
Just need a place initially to make the stuff.
yeah, we're just looking for a home.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Mr. Shantz?
Yeah, you said a couple things through your testimony that intrigued me. Commercial kitchen,
Yes.
what exactly do you have planned as far as commercial kitchen goes?
All we need is a 3-bay sink and a hand washing station. We need some refrigerators and freezers.
No deep fat fryers, no other things
No
that we
cooking.
had the questions about with the other restaurants as well too?
Yeah, no, we're not deep frying. We're not cooking anything. It's just vegan ice cream. So even the dairy is out of it. So our coconut just is a shelf stable product and we just blend things together and we freeze it.
Will you be getting daily deliveries of milk then? If you're going to be making everything fresh on site?
We would not do daily deliveries. I would expect to do monthly deliveries, maybe weekly deliveries if we're that busy. But you can order coconut milk in bulk. So the whole concept is having a hub so we can order in bulk for storage. So then it lowers our cost rather than what we do now is, yes, we go to the grocery store often.
Are there other products besides the coconut milk that you need as far as that goes?
It depends on the flavor, yeah. So we do really fun flavors. Like right now we're doing a pina colada flavor and we're doing mojito flavor and, oh yeah, and a lavender lemonade. So stuff like that. So yeah, it's not like we make just one flavor and we recreate that. We do have different flavors. So our inventory will change.
As far as you mentioned a couple freezers, you mentioned a couple refrigerators. Are you going to be installing a counter?
We would like a counter, but we wouldn't be doing an installation. It would probably be more of a setup where it's probably going to be something that could move around the space. We just need a kiosk essentially for people to come in and pay, you know, with like your Squarespace and all that jazz.
I have one question then for Mr. Pfeiffer then as well too with regards to this. During the testimony, they indicated that you would eventually like to have a delivery vehicle as well too?
No, if we were doing delivery in that quantity, we would have a co-packer, so it would be coming out of a completely different facility. So we'd be paying the co-packer, we give them the recipes.
How?
Yeah, third party.
Okay. So you're going to be also doing like a Grubhub or
No, I don't think we'll get involved with that.
Can you explain a co-packer?
Yeah, a co-packer is somebody, once you start going into bulk and you're actually doing distribution, trying to get into storefronts, other storefronts, grocery stores like Wegmans and stuff, you're going to need mass bulk. So what they do is they put it in order, say 30,000 units. So we would bring our recipes to the co-packer. They create it for us. So it's foolproof. There's no mistakes. They pack it, they ship it out. So that has really, that's when it starts to get away from our specific storefront location.
But I think so you're not going to do any deliveries to homes at all?
During the winter time, we could do home deliveries if somebody couldn't make it out, but the idea is not to do home deliveries because it really, I mean, we have a lot going on. We would rather have a hub for people to come to us. You know, I mean, we don't really want to be a delivery service. That's not the idea. Like if you want to go to a restaurant and get food, you should go and you should place your order, then you go and you pick it up. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to run it out to you unless if they have delivery drivers, but we don't have, it's just Jess and I, so.
So you at this point have no plans for any deliveries home. I can't call from my house and say, can you deliver me like 20 quarts of ice cream?
Oh, no, yeah,
okay.
No, that's not going to happen.
Okay. That's where I thought I was confused because I thought during the point of your testimony, you had mentioned that you were hoping to do delivery services.
No, like during the winter time, we want to be open for people just to pick up their grab and go orders. So right now we only sell pints, and during the winter time, we would like to go back to that simple method. And that's the idea.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Shantz, you have to start watching Shark Tank later. You'll understand some of what they were describing because since I sit up and watch some of this awful TV, I've heard these terms before.
We do too.
If anything, Mr. Chairman, my brain just went when I suddenly started thinking thoughts of chocolate chip.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we've got that. We'll get that.
Yeah, let me pull myself off the ceiling. As you talked about the flavors you might produce, do you do any fruit-based things or anything that would create a lot of garbage that would have to be picked up frequently? Say strawberries, cherries, any of that stuff?
We use frozen organic fruit typically when we do that. So it's just other than the little wrapper that it comes in, no, we're not like peeling things and we don't have a bunch of like produce waste.
All right,
yeah.
now. We're not sure. Do you have her name? You do. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much in a given week would you be producing? How much ice cream?
Right now, our highest sale, I think, was 63 pints for 1 week.
And you would, at that volume, you would store everything on premises?
Correct.
So as you're talking about scaling up, that's when you have the other packing operation or production.
Yeah, that's kind of probably like a 2-year plan. That does take
Yeah.
a while to get to, which is why we want our name to be known into the area. I mean, we're doing very well so far, and a lot of people a lot of people want to meet us and we want to meet them. We have some reoccurring customers and we want them to be able to come into our space, and we want more flavors for them available. Right now, since we're renting out a kitchen, we're only doing 4 flavors a month, and we do rotate that. And in order to make sure we don't have a lot of waste, we do pre-orders. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have a larger scale for people, for a broader audience.
Can you describe, just as I look at the photos here, you can have a dumpster or what for the garbage you generate?
Yeah, we would just need like a traditional garbage that could be picked up weekly. We really don't have that much waste. Yeah, I would say maybe paper towels would be our biggest waste just for cleanup, but really
And
not much.
recycling.
And recycling.
Yeah.
Again, my other concern would be about people consuming your product right outside the building.
We could put a garbage can out for them. We also, we get to know our customers really well, so we would just ask that they didn't just.
And I would hope, in deference to the neighbors, that you folks would be sensitive to making sure that things weren't left there.
Yeah.
And sorry to interrupt, we also have that like porch space, so we could even keep the garbage can right up there. So even if they do want, they're contained, they're not on the sidewalk. That is part of the property we're renting. So they wouldn't be in the walkway either.
Okay. And since we're sort of looking at a double whammy on this neighborhood in terms of the parking situation, how many employees are likely to be in this, can I call it a store?
Sure.
Yeah. The 2 of you?
Yeah, it's just Jessica and I, and we actually both we live in walking distance. So
you would not drive there?
Not if we didn't have to, yeah. And we don't need to occupy any spaces there. It's not a problem. Right now, we live very close. I live on North New. Jess lives right over the bridge, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, bad weather, we would drive.
Yeah, I guess so. Actually, I have no other questions. Any Mr. Shantz?
Yeah, I do have one question, and I want to just go back over your hours of operation again.
Sure.
I know you had testified you only plan to keep like the retail end of it open right now at this point, 1 day a week.
Mm-hmm.
And you're hopefully to expand that out to like a 4-day a week operation. I want to ask about your manufacturing hours though. Do you plan on being on site 7 days a week?
Not 7 days a week. We do plan on keeping our jobs this year in order to kind of have this grace period for Jessica and I. We're hoping by next year, like late spring going into the summer, that's when we can expand our hours. So we will be, it takes us about 2 days to manufacture anything that we need within the week. So whether we're getting into distribution or not, we're looking at manufacturing 2 days, which.
Would that be 2 days in addition to the days you would
in
ideally
addition
like to be
to
open?
Sunday, yeah, Sunday would be open. I'm sorry, I keep saying Sunday, I mean Saturday. Saturday, we would want to be open. And then the 2 manufacturing days, it would just be closed doors, Jess and I just making our ice cream and batching it and putting it in freezers.
And I'm trying to avoid a situation similar to what we had with our first case tonight, I'm trying to avoid having you have to come back here.
Sure.
In the perfect world with total manufacturing and total sales, what days would you envision that you would like to be open and operating? Because you realize if we put a stipulation that said you're only going to be open blank, you have to come back before second hearing to change those hours again. So I'm trying to avoid that situation for you if possible.
Oh, sure.
So this year, only Saturdays, 11 to 6 is what we're looking to do. The winter, just like pickup point only, not like open with like rolling, like scooping ice cream and everything. And then late spring, we would be looking to probably go from either Wednesday through Sunday or Thursday through Sunday, like very limited, maybe 4 days
May
a week.
I ask, is it fair to say that since you really haven't scaled up this business, you don't really know what your hours of
No,
operation might
we
be?
might only be open 2 days a week next year because that's the way our business went, it's very late.
No, it's not. Like I said, it's all. Yeah, it's like not, I'd actually like to get to The issue at hand here is that you're asking for a use variance.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Can you tell us what's in that part of the building right now? How has that been used?
It used to be used as a massage and a nail parlor prior to us. As of right now, there's nothing in it.
So it was used for commercial purposes?
Commercial
prior to-
purposes. Well, it was zoned as a residential office. That's what it was zoned as. So we're looking to go
Yeah.
from residential to commercial, yeah.
Hold on, Mr. Piper. go ahead.
Yeah, thanks.
It was an approved home occupation. The owners who are with us today, who were just testifying for the previous case, live on the second floor of this building.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that, I'm going to kill your last name again, so I apologize. Ms. Albanez was the one that operated that massage therapy home occupation.
So that was a permitted use by virtue of the fact that it was a home occupation,
Correct,
even though, because it's a residential district.
correct.
So you're going to have to bear with us. We're going to have to walk you through some of the things that really have to be brought out in testimony.
Okay.
And I wonder if I might ask your assistance on this, Attorney Shock.
Can you explain why this couldn't be used for, I mean, it's zoned for residential. Well, what's the issue with using the building for residential?
In order to create our product and sell our product, we do have to have the space inspected as a commercial kitchen. We can't just sell our ice cream out of any unit.
Right, but why couldn't anybody walk in and use this for residential? What does it look like inside?
It looks like a commercial space.
Okay, I guess that's what you should,
There's not even a shower.
one at a time.
Oh.
Okay, no problem. So why don't you, tell us about the interior of the space that makes it commercial, I think is what the board needs to know. So,
Yeah, so when you walk in, the front end looks like a nice space that you can have a kiosk or something like that. There is a public restroom available in the hallway area. And then in the back end, there is a kitchen, there's plumbing available, and there are already cabinets installed.
Opie, you want to come up? It's not on yet. Didn't get to it.
so what would someone need to do to turn this into a residential use?
Commercial,
No, to make this a residence? Because it's a residential district and you're asking for the board to approve it as a business instead.
right. I mean, I don't know what's required to make anything into a residential unit. Maybe they would need a shower, maybe, I'm not sure.
So there's no bath or shower.
There's no, it's just it looks like a public restroom.
Does it have a full kitchen right now, though? In other words, does it have a stove or
No.
a fridge? Okay,
No,
so there's no oven or stove.
no, just cabinets.
And a sink, you said, right? Just cabinets and a sink?
No, there's no sink in the back. There's
there's
just
no
a sink and a bathroom.
Oh, a sink in the bathroom, my
And
bad.
yeah, in the restroom.
Are there separate rooms like bedrooms?
No, it really does. So if you look at the blueprint
Mhm.
there, you walk in and then the first third is just an open space, right? So that's where we would like to have our kiosk with our ice cream. So then people can come in, see it, taste. Then the bathroom is right in that, you see that like little section there, like the bottom of the T, that's the restroom. And then to your right, yes, to your right is going to be where the kitchen could be. Because there's already plumbing there and there's also cabinetry. But I don't see it as I mean, I've lived in very small spaces with minimal amenities. I can't imagine somebody would find that as a space to rent to live.
Let me ask.
No, it's a home occupation. Oh, maybe that's the problem. Yeah, that's the goofy thing.
Thanks.
Is this attached to the business that was just permitted to extend its hours? In other words, are these buildings attached?
Yeah, it's all one building, yes.
One building. So where's the, I think it says there's one residential space left. Where's that?
I would believe, well, ours is considered a residential space right now. And then also where Mr. Lustig and his fiance live, that's a residential unit, which is the entire top floor.
Okay, so the first floor consists now of the sandwich shop,
Correct.
this space is attached on the first floor,
Mhm.
previously fitted out for commercial, but as a home occupation.
Correct.
And then the second floor of the entire building is the owner's residence, is what you're saying?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Mr. Pfeiffer, would the space be permitted on the first floor to be approved as the reuse of a corner if it were one space with the panini shop? Do you get my question? In other words, if I came in and said, I want to use the entire first floor for my panini shop and I am the reuse of a corner space, is that permitted under the ordinance?
Permitted in so much as it would have to go through the special exception process.
Permitted by special exception. It wouldn't be a variance if it was part of the, if it was just one commercial space on the first floor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Any last questions from members of the board?
I guess I'm still not 100% clear of your business plan. Do you want this to be a grab and go type operation? You manufacture there, you have freezers, people walk in, buy your product and leave?
Mhm.
Or do you want it to be a retail operation like the Cup? Or what are your
Well,
initial
I think that
plans?
the
What are
Cup
your
is-
future plans on it?
Yeah, sure. So the Cup is much different than our space. We don't have the space like the Cup does. We're
I
not,
understand that, but again, obviously my concern is lines or people hanging around the neighborhood, waiting to either get your product or to be eating your product. So if you're a grab and go, they come, they go, that's fine. There's no disturbance to the neighborhood.
right.
But if you're dipping ice cream or dipping your product or making milkshakes, people are standing around, they're waiting, they're meeting lines, maybe disturbing the neighbors. So what is your business plan right now? And if we made if we granted this, but said, you can only be a grab and go operation, would that then inhibit your business plans or?
It would change our business plans. Ultimately, we do need a space to create our products so everything is under one roof and we can expand.
Right, I have
mean,
no problem with you creating your product on the
Yeah.
site. I have no problem with somebody walking in and buying it out of a freezer.
Right,
My concern is if you go beyond that
right.
and then you start creating conditions that could disturb the neighbors.
Sure. I mean, we would prefer to have our customers be able to come up and choose what milkshake they want and have that to go. Yeah. So I guess it would be considered a walk-in and also a grab and go.
Okay, you've answered my question. Thanks.
Mhm.
Anyone else from the board? At this time, I'd like to open the floor to anyone from the audience wishing to ask questions of the testimony that you've just heard. This will be questions only. If so, either please come to the podium here, or if you're with us virtually, please unmute your microphone and identify yourself. Yes, ma'am. Now these are questions now. Thank you. Again, please re-identify yourself.
I will. My name is Chris Ann Albanese. I live at 5 West Gap Street, second floor, which is the upper of where they are looking to manufacture and produce their ice cream. My question for them is it an inconvenience for you to manufacture your product in the space that is currently provided, and all you would have to do is add a sink, 3-bay sink, as well as a hand sink? And would that hinder your manufacturing? And would you be hindered by doing that with us living upstairs? Or anyone living on the second floor?
No,
Or the sandwich shop that has been granted to open in front of you?
right, no.
So the space that you are looking for is self-contained. You would not have to bother the residents that live on the second floor. And you would not have to bother the sandwich shop on the first floor. or hinder any parking that is outlying with the neighbors in the neighborhood right now.
Correct.
So basically, your business is noiseless or relatively quiet
Oh, yeah.
as opposed to rumbling of machinery. Your refrigerators and freezers are run by electric, and you don't have any hand grinders going on or any noise level. So the environment would be pretty much the way that it is right now as far as quietness. And the other tenants that live in the building or operate in the building, they would not be at all offended by the ice cream manufacturing,
Correct.
other than the fact that they wouldn't be able to walk up and they'd have to grab and go.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Can I ask Craig a few questions?
Sure.
So if there was a shop that had 2 business owners inside of it, like a kiosk, is that different, or how is that different in this case? Is it because they're 2 separate buildings? And if these 2 separate buildings were connected in an interior point, would that change something? Or is it the fact that there's 2 addresses?
It's the creation of a second commercial use.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying is if you have 2 commercial uses in the same space, if they created that as one space, if it's considered as one space,
If it was connected.
there could be 2
It would
separate business
still,
owners.
I'm sorry,
Could there be 2 separate business owners in the same space?
that would still necessitate a certificate of occupancy, and we'd be going through this process, regardless of how it's interconnected or not.
But I think it's the question, going back to my question before, would it be a special exception if they connected this? Because it's still part of the building that fronts on the corner. Is that right?
Under the reuse of a corner commercial space.
Right.
We're talking about one occupant, one CO for one tenant. If you start putting multiple tenants in here, that changes the nature of it, requires additional COs, which requires your creation of a new use, additional use in this process, this use variance process.
Okay, I think I get it.
Okay.
Because then it'd be, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if I had them connected and I said, I'm one shop that happens to sell paninis and ice cream, would that be allowed?
That would be allowed.
That would be, okay, so that it's really, that's the distinction, is that putting 2 tenants in becomes multi-use, which is not what is allowed under the reuse of a corner.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Again, I'm going to open the floor for any questions from members of the audience, either in town hall or with us virtually. If you're with us virtually, please unmute your microphone and identify yourself. If you're in town hall, please step up to the podium.
Bill, I do have one question.
Wait a second,
Yeah,
I'm
can
not
I-
on page.
Just to follow up on what Eric said, if the panini shop rented out both spaces and it was one space to them, is it still considered 2 spaces and 2 uses? If the panini shop rented the whole thing on the floor, on the bottom floor?
It would be considered one.
Okay.
Mr. Piper, you had something you needed to clarify.
Yes, I'm sorry. I thought you had mentioned in your testimony that the area underneath the deck is all stone. Is that correct?
That's correct,
Is
yes.
the little red fence still erected, or has it been removed?
No, it's still there.
Okay. Is there ever an intent to use that stoned area for off-street parking?
Oh, no.
Not that you're aware of. Okay, thank you. That was my question.
Thank you.
Can I follow up with one? Could it be used for off-street seating?
It's not our intent. We're just looking for a grab and go place at this time, or a walk up place. Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
And at this point, I just want to make sure that I've afforded everyone an opportunity to either question, or if anyone wishes to introduce testimony, please either come to the podium and identify yourself or unmute your microphone and identify yourself.
I just have a question.
Seeing none, yes.
Sorry. I know that there's concern about having a line out on our particular side, which is 5 West Gap Street. I know that wasn't a concern for the Grab and Go storefront, or it wasn't brought to the attention at that time for the Grab and Go in the storefront who's occupying the North New section. So is there anything that differentiates our space versus theirs, which is also intended to be Grab and Go?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we said the ice cream.
It is
yeah.
ice cream
Ice
as
cream,
opposed
so,
to,
yeah.
not many people stand on, as many people, I would suspect,
Yeah.
stand and eat their panini on the street corner. I think Mr. Novotny's question was because of the nature of what you're selling.
Exactly.
Am I correct?
And it would tend to be more of a juvenile audience possibly standing in line, or parents with their children, so.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Cones and milkshakes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess I just always, since we're downtown, I just grab and go in my mind. You know what I mean? So I grab it and I'm on my way, whether it's a coffee or anything, like, so I just.
Yeah, again, in my perception is grab and go is I grab and go. If I go and order a milkshake and then I want to sit out on the sidewalk and drink my milkshake, I'm not going to be a grab and go. I'm going to be a grab and stay.
But a grab and go though seems like that you would pre-order, right? That you place the order prior to receiving it, right? So you'd like maybe go online or call ahead, and then that would make that process super fast. But I mean, if any prepared food or anything that's being prepared is at hand, there is always going to be a wait period, and even paninis would take time to construct. So it's going to be kind of, what I would imagine, be the same kind of stay, which is just going up, ordering.
The real issue is how are you going to address that?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I can't imagine that people would be waiting more than 5 minutes for their product.
Because again, as we got into your own testimony, we had talked about packaged goods that were really a grab and go thing.
Yes.
Then I thought you indicated you would serve cones, possibly
Yeah,
milkshakes,
cones and like,
which
yeah,
leads me to believe on the hot summer days, people are going to stand in line to come up and get it.
right, I see what you're saying.
And I believe what Mr. Novotny's hitting on is then the impact on the neighborhood if the line becomes unwieldy or whatever goes on.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just say,
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
just to further, so we do, as far as lines go, people can come into our store and order. So there's a good amount of space in there for them to be contained inside while in line, as well as our front porch. So we would really have to have like over probably a dozen people in line for them to even make it off of our front porch, I would assume, in my mind. So that would be a good problem to have if we had that many people, but I don't foresee vegan ice cream really creating that type of buzz. And then also, as far as like a lot of kids go, we're trying to open up an ice cream shop, but not for the kids. Our pints are $12. Our scoops are around between $6 and $12 for what we're constructing. We're not your typical $2, $3 ice cream shop that you're going to bring your 10 kids to, unless if they're all allergic to dairy, which would be great. That, again, part of why we are doing what we're doing is for those people with allergies, specialty lifestyles. But it's going to be a little bit more of an adult ice cream shop, a high-end ice cream shop as well.
Thanks for that clarification. Attorney Shaw.
Yeah, I just wanted to, the other component is parking relief is needed, Mr. Piper, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you just explain what's required, what would have been required for the prior occupant and what's needed? In other words, does the home occupation require anything additional so that what's required may or may not be the same? We've had that before.
Give me a second, let me get to that.
Go, take your time. And what would be required if it was a residence, or another unit, right? I guess those are the various comparisons we would need.
So let's start off with that and we'll go backwards.
Okay.
The residence, assuming that it's 2 or fewer bedrooms, would be 1.75 off-street parking spaces per dwelling unit.
Okay.
The home occupation provided that it's a minor home occupation, doesn't necessitate an additional off-street parking space.
What would bump it up to a major? For example, would a nail salon that takes in customers be major?
It's actually in this ordinance still considered minor.
Okay. Would a major home occupation, which would be permitted, right, but by the same special exception, does that sometimes require parking?
It requires an appeal to the zoning hearing board, which would then bring up the opportunity for off-street parking. I don't believe
Okay.
that we have a specific line item for major home occupation that gives you a formula for what that parking would look like.
Other than it's a special exception and the board could impose it.
Correct.
Okay. And then the use for this space, how is the 2 generated? Based on square footage?
Correct.
So 2 based on square feet. And really, so it's the same as if it was used as an apartment.
And let me be more specific,
Okay, go
because it goes into slightly different detail. It does require 1 parking space for each 2 employees, plus 1 space for every 4 seats for customers. A use without seats shall include a minimum of 1 space for every 4 persons of allowed building capacity under the fire code.
Okay. But based on your determination, you would have required 2.
We would
And
require,
they have 0. You would have required 2 for an apartment unit.
correct.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions I had. Make sure the board was clear on those.
Thank you for that clarification. We've actually concluded our questions. Did you have any additional testimony?
No.
Said everything you need to say, huh?
So we'll make the
No.
application A1. And the attachments.
We're going to do that. Gene, we're going to go off the record, but
This person
outside, please.
All right.
Had to take a little bit more.
Well, you would think.
Gasoline, and then you couple that with the inflation,
I believe you don't do it on the spot. Maybe, maybe not. Well, I mean, but one of the time, you know.
If you can say it.
All right, Gene, I'd like to go back on the record and I would welcome a motion from the board.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the use variance request of De Novo Creamery for the second half of the commercial dwelling, subject to the following conditions. One, that the sale of pre-packed items should be limited to 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. That would be your frozen products, that would be your pints, that would be anything that you have sealed and ready to go.
Mhm.
Two, that the other items that you mentioned, your cones, your in-store cones, milkshakes, other items you would make would be limited to, at this point, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday as per testimony. Three, no outdoor seating. And four, the commercial equipment as far as the manufacturing shall be as testified to during your testimony.
No problem.
A second.
Mr. Schneck,
Yes.
Mr. Novotnik,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Shantz,
Am I getting chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream?
Absolutely.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Yes. Your appeal's been granted. If you need any clarification on the conditions, good luck with the project.
Thank
You
you.
may want to wait a little while till we get you the written decision out, but again, good luck with everything.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay.
Jim, I know you
Is
said you
everybody
didn't,
okay to go on? Does anybody need a break?
I know you said you didn't watch Shark Tank, but Shark Tank always has free samples. So I think,
Yeah, you
I
know
think you
what?
get the premise of the show.
I'm missing the samples.
That doesn't turn me into Mr. Wonderful, does it? That grouchy guy.
I think this next one.
Sorry, Gene. Would you like to sit here?
Things will go quick.
Appreciate it. I would just remind everyone that the third item originally listed on the agenda, 323 Pierce Street, will not be held tonight. It'll be later in June. So the next hearing that we will entertain is at 2958 and 2970 Linden Street.
Mr. Chairman, as we get set up, we have an easel and we're going to put that, but I suspect some of these people are going to want to see what's on the easel.
Yes.
Would we be okay to place it over here?
Yes, that's fine. Because for the most part, we can see on our laptops.
You got it.
Attorney President. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I will wait till Gene gets ready. Yep, just tell me when you're good. Ready? Okay. Mr. Chairman, I mentioned this to you previously, and I just wanted it to be on the record. The applicant Setnam, they had about, I think it was 22 years ago, we had a file open at my firm for that. I know nothing about this application and they have not been a client. The Setnam has not been a client since that time. I don't vote. I don't think it's a conflict, but I just wanted it to be on the record that one time, a long time ago, they had been represented by my firm. They have Mr. Preston representing them tonight, so I don't think it's an issue.
Thank you, Attorney Schuck. I don't believe it's an issue either, and we would ask you to.
Yep, I will
stay
continue.
on as solicitor this evening. First order of business, can you tell us when the property was posted?
June 2nd.
June 2nd, thank you. Prior to swearing folks in, Mr. Piper, can we have the facts of the case, please?
Subject appeal is located at two parcels, 2958 Linden Street and 2970 Linden Street. This is the appeal of Dwayne Wagner on behalf of Setnam Enterprises LLC to demolish and construct an approximate 2,400 square foot commercial restaurant, which requires dimensional variances for front yard setback, 40 feet required, 8 feet proposed, and side yard setback, 25 feet required, 3.2 feet proposed, and to construct a 4-story residential structure containing 61 multifamily dwellings, which requires variances to locate an accessory structure, garbage dumpster, within the front yard to exceed the maximum building length, 180 feet permitted, 270 feet proposed, and to reduce the minimum separation between a dwelling and access drive, 15 feet required, 10.8, 11.3, and 12.6 proposed. The total consolidated lots equal 122,610 square feet, and both are located in the CS Commercial Shopping Zoning District.
Thank you very much. At this time, I would ask anyone who's going to be either questioning or testifying, please stand up, raise your right hand and be sworn in. That would apply to anyone who is with us virtually. If you would also please rise and put up, even if you're thinking that you might want to say something, it's easier to swear you in now, please.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear by mighty God, the truth of all hearts, that the testimony that you shall give in this proceeding should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and as you shall.
Thank you. Anything else, Eric? Or
No.
Okay, Attorney Preston, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you and good evening. I got to tell you, it's nice to be back in the building again. For the record, my name is Jim Preston. I'm an attorney and I represent the applicant in this matter. There are several witnesses here this evening. Probably the most important will be seated to my right. This is Kevin Fruck. He's our engineer with Cornerstone Engineering. He'll be doing most of the heavy lifting and the testifying with respect to the exhibits and so forth. This is a property you'll see from the testimony. Everyone's pretty much familiar with this. This is where the Stefano's restaurant is, out on Linden Street. And we're proposing to replace that restaurant. And then there's another lot in the back. It's actually, right now, it's a separate lot. And we intend to merge those. And that's where we will be placing the apartment structure. So with that little bit of an explanation, I'd like to call Kevin as my first witness. Okay, now Kevin, you've been sworn, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a professional engineer working for Cornerstone Consulting.
Okay, let me show you a document. Do you recognize that?
That is my professional resume.
Okay, with the board's permission, I'll just ask that that be marked as A1.
What was that?
CS. Oh, yes, CV, yes, I'm sorry, yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
there it is.
If I want. Okay, Kevin, we've asked that your resume be marked and made part of the record, but just for the board's purposes, could you just give us a brief synopsis? Tell us about your education, training, and background, please.
Certainly, I'm a professional engineer in the state of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware. Been practicing for 26 years. Work on all different kinds of commercial, residential, industrial projects in all those states.
Okay, you've testified at zoning hearings before.
I have, yes.
You've testified as an expert in land use planning, project design, similar to what's before the board this evening?
That's correct.
And you're familiar with the exhibits? In fact, let me ask you this, these exhibits were produced under your direction or by you, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you're familiar with the zoning ordinance for the city of Bethlehem, at least to the extent that it applies to this application?
That's correct.
Is that correct? I would ask that Kevin, I'm going to question him as an expert in this repeated testimony with the board's permission.
Absolutely.
Okay. Kevin?
Theoretically, I guess there could be voir dire of his qualifications.
Absolutely.
So you should ask if anyone wanted to question his qualifications. They could look at his resume, and they'd have to, they could do that. Does anyone in the audience or online would have the right to do that theoretically?
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought it was just the members of the board.
No one, and I think that's the right decision. He sounds qualified, so we will admit him as an expert.
Well, since we've opened this, does anyone need to reviewed this gentleman's resume is I'm prepared to accept him as an expert witness. And you'll hear the testimony that he offers. You would only be questioning his credentials as expert. Okay? When you're finished with that, we need that back. Thank you.
Permission to proceed?
Absolutely,
Okay.
please.
Okay, now Kevin, you testified that you're familiar with the application, so I'm assuming you're familiar with the property, is that correct?
That's correct.
And let's do this. Let's start with existing conditions. Before we get into the application and what we're requesting, I want to start with existing conditions. Have you prepared a plan? Or do you have a way to demonstrate to the board what those existing
Yes,
conditions
the
are?
plan that you should have in front of you on your computers as well as on the screen and members of the audience. It's also before you. You have an existing conditions plan showing the property. It was a surveyed plan, so that was done under my direction with a professional surveyor.
Okay, I'm going to ask that that be marked as A2. How's that called out in the title block?
Okay. Attorney
Okay.
Preston, the only thing I Since I have no earthly idea who's on there. If anyone is with us virtually, would you just please unmute your microphone? Someone did. What is your question, Sean?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear the proceedings all right?
Now we can.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Kevin, you could have stayed on that side.
I'm over here.
You got it.
Yeah, Stay far away.
Don't move the rest. Don't move the rest of the night.
Okay, so we were just talking, I had asked you about existing conditions. We had marked A2, the existing conditions plan, and you were about to tell us what's at the existing Stefanos site.
Certainly. You're all familiar with the Stefanos. It's located on the east side of Linden Street, south of Makeda Boulevard. You have an existing restaurant that you have located very close to the road now. So currently it sits about 6.9 feet off of the existing right-of-way. There's a driveway that goes between the building and the southern property line. As Mr. Preston was saying, this is comprised of two parcels. One is the long skinny parcel, and then there's a larger parcel to the south. Only connection for the southern parcel is a 15-foot wide strip that goes out to Linden Street. The goal of this project obviously is to merge the two lots when the property becomes redeveloped.
Okay, and just so we're clear for the purposes of my record, I have the long, deep lot on the top that actually has the Stefanos restaurant, right?
That's correct.
And then attached to, if I turn and come down, I enter a second lot that appears to have a building on it, right?
That's correct.
And that looks like there's an alley or something that goes out to the street.
That's correct. That alley is 15 foot wide. The paved area varies between 10 and 15 feet.
And is that actually part of the lot or is that an easement?
That is part of the lot.
So that's the shape of that rear lot there. Is
That's
that correct?
correct, yes.
And then it looked like we wrapped around a building I see in the front there out on Linden Street, a third, yeah, that building there.
Correct.
What's
The building that sits in between the two parcels fronting on Linden Street is the existing Sunoco station. So that's an auto service station.
And that's in operation?
That's currently in operation, yes.
The,
So we're looking at that building there.
okay. Now, we're proposing to make some changes here, is that correct?
That is correct.
We're going to replace that restaurant, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Is that going to be torn down and replaced, or what's going to be happening with that?
So we are looking at tearing down the restaurant
Mhm.
and rebuilding the restaurant, set back further from the road, but using the same setback on the side that exists now.
Okay, and then when we get to the rear, you showed us, you alluded to a building in the back. What is that?
This existing building is a residential structure that's a rental property.
Okay, that's coming down?
That is also coming down.
And
yes.
that's primarily the area where the apartments will be, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, this is an important question. The uses that are being proposed on this property, are they permitted in this district?
They are permitted in this
Not-
district.
Not asking for any relief with respect to the uses.
That's correct.
So let's get down to what we are asking for. Do you have an exhibit? And I'm going to ask that you mark it as A3 because I know you do, that shows what's being proposed. You have that there?
You flip to,
Okay, and what, is that identified or?
yes, that's identified as zoning plan.
Okay, so the zoning plan, that's the plan that is going to be, you're going to use that to show the board what we're proposing, is that correct?
That's correct.
And anybody else that's interested. So why don't you go ahead and explain to the board what it is that we are proposing?
Certainly. As you can see, the Stefanos restaurant is still located in the same general location. As I mentioned, it's set back further from the right-of-way. It's 8 feet now as opposed to the 6.9 that it was before. It's maintaining the 3.2 foot setback that was against the top northern property line. And it's reoriented so that you can get an actual drive aisle past the restaurant to the rear of the property. This property is only 80 feet wide at that front section. So I believe the setback in the front is a 40-foot setback and a 225-foot setback. So there's not a lot of space in that front area for that building. To the rear of the building or of the site, we are looking at the proposed apartment complexes. This is one building, 61 units. So it's a 4-story building. 61 units is what's permitted by code for density. So what we're here for this evening, as far as variances go, are really just the length of the building and the amount of space that's between the drive aisle on the north and south side of that building adjacent to the parking aisles. And we can go through that in a little bit more detail.
Okay, and let's do that now, and then we'll come back globally and talk about the reasons for all of this.
Certainly.
But let's identify what it is that's being requested. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 requests for variances, correct? So the first one I have is, it involves section 11306.01B4. That deals with front and side yard setbacks. Am I correct in that?
That is correct.
Why don't you explain to the board what's being requested?
So the request for that is, again, getting back to the Stefano's Restaurant. That is, again, the front yard setback is a 40-foot setback, the side is a 25, and we're proposing.
Can we scroll down to that, please?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You want to go back to Stefano's?
Yeah, back to the Stefano's, if you would. And so we're looking at the Stefano's here. The right-of-way line is located here along Linden Street. So we're proposing to push that back from 6.9 to 8 feet. Still have room in the front for sidewalk, landscaping, and things like that. And then to maintain the 3.2 feet that's along the side property line. Those are the variances requested for the Stefano's Restaurant.
And that's it for that particular section, is that correct?
That's correct.
The next section is, I think it's 1306.03, deals with accessory structures. That's
correct, yes.
Could you explain to the board why that's in the
Scroll
request?
back up a little bit. Oh, sorry. The request for this is for the trash enclosure. So that's located at the southwestern corner of the property. Because the front of the property, which is actually inside of the property quite a bit because it's set back, this is considered the front, the side that is on the Linden Street side. So we are requesting a setback for the trash enclosure. And that's to be permitted in the front yard.
That's to be permitted in a front yard,
That's correct.
even though it's how many feet off that road?
Oh, gosh. That's probably, I'd say probably 150 feet off the road.
The next section,
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
You said the Sunoco was in front. This is actually not the Sunoco, right? It's a different use down there? That the trash enclosure is, am I right?
Oh, so yes, the Sunoco is located between the two properties or the 15-foot easement. This property directly adjacent to that is a beer distributor.
Okay.
And then directly adjacent to that is the bank. And then to the south, directly to the south are 2 residential lots.
Yeah. I would just advise the audience that we will afford you an opportunity to either question or comment, but I can't have people raising their hands and be recognized right now. So we have to.
You can cross-examine him about that
Right.
when he finishes. You have a chance, absolutely.
okay, now, the next item is 1322.03 LL4, which speaks to building length. That's the third request that we have.
That's correct.
Would you explain to the board what's happening there?
Certainly, we're looking at the building itself, having one longer building rather than several smaller buildings. Several smaller buildings would result in being right up against the setback line and essentially being the same height. So we're trying to pull that away from the property lines, provide circulation around the building for fire vehicles so they have safe access around the entire building.
Okay, I just want to spend a minute on that because originally when this project was designed, it was designed to comply with that building separation requirements, right?
Yes,
And that ended up with 2 buildings that were pushed into the yard setbacks. Is that correct?
they were right on the yard setback. So one would have been 25 feet off the property line and the other one 25 feet off the property line here.
Okay, and why was the decision made, first of all, to move them off the property lines?
Because we were looking at getting the building to be a little bit taller. This zoning district allows for an 80-foot height. And certainly we don't want to go that high, but we also wanted to be cognizant and pull the buildings away from the property line. Cognizant of the fact that, you know, there are some surrounding uses and we're trying to pull that away from the property line. So currently this building sits off of the eastern property line, 96 feet, which well exceeds the building setback.
What are the maximum permitted numbers of stories, if you know, in this particular district?
I only recall it's 80 feet.
Okay. And how tall is this building?
This building is 55 feet tall, 4 stories.
So it could by right be much taller than it is.
Correct.
I see. And one way to accommodate the building separation is to pull the buildings apart and make them taller. Isn't that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And that was, we decided not to do that. We decided to put the buildings together and bring them down.
That's correct, yes.
And does that reflect what you were talking about earlier, concern for the surrounding properties? Is that right?
That does, yes.
So I guess, I suppose in a sort of an odd way, if we can't get the relief, we go back to
a much taller building, yes.
There were some other concerns that were involved with the two separate buildings having to do with traffic circulation. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Let's talk about those. I think it had to do with safety, fire safety, things like that.
Yeah, so having 2 buildings pushed up against the setback, you really only had access to each of the buildings on 2 sides. On top of that, you also had some dead-end parking. You had, I'm going to say, maneuverability issues where you're going to have more backup or maneuvering for a fire truck than you would with this layout, where you have one entrance coming in, clear circulation around the building, and emergency access with the existing flag that comes out.
Okay, and that circumstance takes us to the final request, which is 1325.06, which deals with drive aisle setbacks. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So these two sort of work together. Tell me about the drive aisle. Tell the board about the drive aisle setback. Where does the encroachment occur and why does it occur?
So there are 2 encroachments. One is on the northern end and one is on the southern end. These occur during adjacent to the drive aisle areas, not necessarily the parking areas. 15 feet is required, and I believe we are at 10.8 and 11.3 feet.
Okay, now this plan, the plan that's before the board here this evening, this has been reviewed by the city, is that correct?
That's correct.
In fact, it was reviewed by the city's planning commission, am I correct in that?
That is correct.
Were you at that meeting?
I was not at that meeting.
Okay, do you know what the results of that meeting were?
Yes, they voted unanimously 5-0 in favor of the project.
Okay. Now, the ordinance has a whole host of criteria that comes out of these. So for example, in section 1306.01B, or that section deals with a lot of the yard requirements and so forth. That's where we're seeking the front and side yard for the Stefanos. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And actually, the relief that it's sort of ironic, we're maintaining the side yard. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But we need a variance in order to maintain that.
That's correct.
And the front, we're actually moving it back.
That's also correct, yes.
Okay. Now, the other variance is the accessory structure you talked about. That's the garbage or the trash enclosure. Am I right in that?
That's correct.
This is in a CS shopping center district?
It is in a CS shopping center district.
Okay, minimum lot size, we meet that, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Minimum lot width, do we meet that?
Yes.
Okay. It's the front yard with respect to Stefanos and the side yard with respect to Stefanos.
That's correct.
That's the only yard requirements. Am I correct in that?
That's correct.
There's a maximum percentage of building coverage. We comply with that?
We comply.
Maximum percent impervious coverage. We comply with that?
We do.
Maximum building height. We comply with that?
We do.
So that's it as far as those dimensional requirements.
That's correct.
Very good. Then we get to Okay, then we get to the section that talks about, this is 1322, I'm sorry, yeah, is it building, 1322.03 double L, 4, which deals with multifamily dwellings. The apartment, the thing that we're calling apartment is in the ordinance considered a multifamily dwelling, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and there's a portion of it that says that except within the IRR district, no building shall exceed 180 feet in length measured at ground level or any floor level. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, you testified earlier that the density, there's a density requirement in the ordinance,
That's correct.
and we meet the density requirement.
We do.
So the number of units is really not an issue here.
That's correct.
We could accommodate the same number of units with different building configurations.
That's correct.
So by separating the buildings, this is important. I think everybody needs to understand this. If we can't connect them, we have to separate them, we make them taller.
That's also correct.
Okay, very good. Now, the notion of connecting them and moving them towards the center was, do you know if the fire department was at all involved in that conversation?
I believe they did look at the plan.
Okay.
And usually with any fire circulation, you want to try and get as much circulation around the building as possible without having to back up.
I'm going to take you off the hot seat. We have a fire marshal.
Okay,
Let's go
very good.
talk about that in a minute. Okay. And do you have an opinion, given the nature of this lot, the way it's laid out? You know, the unusual access where you have to go and so forth, as to whether or not this lot could be considered a standard lot?
I would not consider this a standard lot. I think it's an odd shaped lot. The Sunoco that does sit in the middle certainly takes away from what would normally be considered as a normal lot. So it's certainly not normal.
Okay. And do you have an opinion as a professional engineer as to whether the requests that we're making, the 4 requests that we've made, are the minimum relief that would allow you to lay this project out in a safe manner?
I do, yes.
Okay. I have no further.
Thank you. Attorney Schock, before I ask members of the board anything from you?
Yeah, I did have a question. The land that is in front of the rear lot, is that zoned commercial also?
Yes.
Okay, so
both lots are both common ownership and they are both in the CS district.
okay, so where you've got the trash facility, the other lot, if they were to use their rear yard for the trash facility, could be developed to put their trash there. Is
That's
that
correct.
right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So it abuts an area that would be the trash dumpster.
Yes.
Potentially on the other. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was the case. That's all I had at this
Okay,
time.
thank you. At this time, I'd welcome questions from members of the board. Ms. Stone?
Can I address the traffic flow issue?
Certainly.
Okay. It looks like the traffic around the building, when you go to, currently with Stefano's, it's really difficult to get in because it's not entering or exiting at a stoplight. You're crossing that double
Yes.
turn lane.
Mhm.
And when I look at the plans for the new building, you have traffic flow going around, but it looks like it's entering and exiting at the same point on Linden Street.
That's
Is there
correct.
Any idea? Okay, so that's it?
Yeah, well, it is Linden Street is a PennDOT road, so we've met with PennDOT. PennDOT's concerns are being addressed for this. Again, because of the shape and location of that lot, only being 80 feet, that's the access point that this property is.
Yeah, because
is
that's
stuck with.
really a safety factor when you're having that many units coming and going into that street.
I do believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the driveway is being widened.
Yeah,
So there's not going to be
exactly.
people stacked out on the road.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Stefano's driveway is narrower, and part of the request that we're making this evening is to reorient that building to widen that driveway.
And also, it looks like you're still creating a buffer zone. I know when you go down Woodstown Road,
Mhm.
when you get toward the condos, you're sloping downward. Is that going to be the situation with this property as well? Is it going to slope toward the, I guess it would be east side buffer?
The property does slope from south to north,
Okay,
similar to the way the road does, yes.
exactly. So then would that create any type of drainage problem toward those condos?
No, because what we're looking at doing is on the southern side, you would, and again, we haven't gotten into land development yet where we're fully grading, but what we're contemplating is there's a cut on that southern side, so it would come off the property line and go down. And then it's going to be leveled off. From a stormwater standpoint, everything's being collected, it's curbed. So you're collecting in stormwater inlets. It will likely be an underground basin. Project is over 1 acre disturbance, so it will need to meet all DEP requirements for stormwater management.
And that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schneck.
All right, you said basically you're targeting 61 units. Is that the maximum number of units you
That's
can get?
the maximum number you could get, yes.
Is that the minimum number to make this project work?
I'm not the developer, so it's not something I can answer, but I'm sure that would be the answer, yes.
All right, I'm looking at the 3 places on your plan, the 10.8, the 12.6, and the 11.3.
Mhm.
And you need 15. So if you shorten the building by 7.9 feet, would you be able to get your 15 feet all around?
You could, if you shortened it, yes. But the township or the city also has a minimum apartment size. So I don't know that you can meet the minimum apartment size without going up a floor to get those units.
Unless you decrease the amount of apartments.
Right, but we're not asking for a variance of the number of units.
Right, I mean,
We'll concede you could put 1 apartment here. We understand that.
okay. So I know you said you can split it and make it taller.
Mhm.
If you do that, was there any other variances that you would have to have come to the board for? I know that when you make it taller on your plan, you have to, increase the setback by every 1 foot over 35 feet.
That's correct. You can see on the plan itself how far back the building is from the setback lines. So the setbacks are here. So the rear yard setback is 35.5 feet. Building setback 96 feet. So if we went to the maximum height of 80 feet, that would comply.
In the 2 building configuration
in the
where you
2
say
building
you're going
configuration.
high, would there have been any other variances that you were asking for? Or would that have just worked?
I'm not sure. We didn't get that far. I would think that it would probably comply, that you could raise the building.
We're not going to try and avoid the question. We haven't done the engineering on it. We did talk about this earlier. It seems that with the 100 feet or close to what it is, we can run it up to the maximum height and still meet that increment that you're talking about with the buildings where they are. So we can, if we can't get the relief, we can take the stuff out of the middle, put it up on the top.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, just to clarify his question, you said it's 1 foot for every foot you want to go higher. Is that what the ordinance says?
It's something like that. I don't have it right in front of me.
On his plan, it says 1 foot for every 3 feet over 35 feet in height.
Yeah.
Okay, so you only have 25 feet left to go to 80.
Right.
So that would be 8 some feet.
Correct.
Okay, so are you, I think is Pete's question, are you over 8 feet from the setback line on each of the setbacks?
No. You wouldn't.
You'd come nowhere near this.
You wouldn't come anywhere near.
It's not even close.
I guess what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
there would be a way, is there a way to configure it with 2 smaller buildings, you said, within the ordinance? But it is your opinion that this is less offensive to the neighbors?
Yeah,
Well,
because
we think it's less offensive. We also had a plan that had 2 buildings on it. This is the preferred layout for fire safety and able to get the trucks all the way around the building with no backing up, far away from not on the property line. So in other words, this puts it in the middle. Fire apparatus goes around the outside. They can get up to wherever they got to get to. And in this particular case, they don't have to get as high as they would otherwise. And that plan, the only impediment to doing it this way is that 180 foot.
But I guess the part I don't understand is why does that building have to move closer to the property line right? Because Pete, are you asking if you cut a center section out to make it 2 buildings, left it exactly where it was and raised it another story, why wouldn't that work?
You'd be raising it another 2 stories.
Yeah, or whatever, 2 story,
Right.
whatever you can get in 25 feet.
The actual separation between them this is the part we haven't done. How much space you need between the buildings, depending on the height, is the other issue.
Okay,
So we don't know whether or not what you're doing is actually pushing it much further apart.
gotcha.
So potentially you may, in the other configuration, you would have had to ask for some kind of variance, whether you were encroaching on a side yard or rear yard setback. You don't know because it
I
wasn't
don't know.
developed. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I really had.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Novotny.
So getting back to the number of stories, if you went to the maximum, did you say it'd be a 6-story building?
Yes. 6 stories with a pitched roof
Okay.
is what gets it. It'd be somewhere 74 to 78 feet high.
I'm trying to orient myself to the placement of the building. So I know the Sunoco station, I know the beer distributor. So then we have the Bank of America building. And to the side of that building is a very small parking lot.
Yes.
So how far back from that small parking lot is the area of the project?
So what you're looking at here is the bank area, and it has the parking lot in the front. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that parking, right, the parking lot is to the right. And there's I think what I'm trying to see is does that parking lot align to where the building is going to be? Just trying to orient myself.
Based on you can better see it here from the aerial. Have their bypass and circulation lanes in the back of the bank.
Yep.
And that parking area. So
yeah, I'm talking about that circulation.
This is about where the property line is right here.
Okay.
So you do have that edge does get very close.
Yep. So the trash enclosure then would be approximately behind the beer distributor near that access area.
Right in this area here.
Right. Okay. All right, I think that's it for now.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Lee.
Yes, how close does the building come to existing homes in the back there? I'm not familiar with the back of Stefano's.
Certainly. So the proposed building is on the eastern side, 96 feet from the property line. The setback with that height is 35.5 feet. There's a 15-foot buffer that's required and then proposed. The buildings in the back are set back 25 feet off the property line. So those residential homes are only 25 feet off the property line. Some of those have decks that have been added, and those are as close as 15 feet.
This photo, is it where the trees are? Is that where you're going to put this building?
Right in this area here.
See the roof of that house?
So the roof of that house extending north.
And whose house is that?
That's part of the property.
Okay, and then the house is to the, well, up.
House to
That's
the
where the
east, that's the east.
25-foot distance would
Yes,
be?
they were designed to only be 25 feet off the property line.
What about lighting for this building?
Kevin,
Where would that appear?
need to explain, we're more than 25 feet away from those houses.
Yes, no,
That's
so-
pretty close, 25 feet.
Right.
Well, right, but we didn't design that.
Oh, I understand. I'm just making a statement.
Hold on a second. Let me have a turn.
Can you clarify, because I'm confused now? Those houses are on a different property, correct?
That's
Okay,
correct.
so they're 25 feet from your property line is what you're saying?
Yes, so, yeah.
And
let
then
me-
how
let me-
far is your building into
So,
your property?
let
We
me-
add those together,
Yes,
right?
let me build
Yep.
this, let me build this out.
Yep.
So these are the houses along the eastern side of the property. They sit 25 feet from the property line. The proposed building is another 96 feet from that property line. So you're about 125, 120.
121,
Yeah.
if you added them, right?
And keeping in mind that the building setback is only 35.5 feet. So we're exceeding that that building setback by quite a lot.
Yeah, what you're saying is you're required 35 feet off that line
35 and a half feet, yes,
by ordinance.
by
You,
ordinance.
you could put something 35 and a half feet against that.
Correct.
And we're 90, how many?
96.
96.
What is the height of the building you could put at 25 feet? Was that the 35? Because then
Yes.
you would, so at 25 feet away, you could put a 35-foot building.
That's correct.
Okay,
And then as you move away from that,
your
the
building gets
setback would
taller.
increase.
Okay.
Okay, just one more question. What about lighting? I see a lot of parking spaces surrounding the building. So you would have to have lighting, I would think, for.
Yeah, I mean, lighting would
Would
be,
that, overflow onto these people's.
well, we are looking at
Yards.
doing buffering along here as required by the city. We'll put in house side shields as required by the city. That's all something that gets reviewed during land development and the planning process.
Okay.
You okay? Mr. Shantz?
Can we go back to the last photo for just one moment, please? The building in the middle of all those trees, that's the building, the house that you're proposing to take down, correct?
Correct.
That's actually part of the entire structure, and where the trees are basically forming the squares where you're planning on putting this current building and the parking, correct?
That's correct, yes.
The driveway, that's the 15-foot driveway that you alluded to during testimony, that, I take it, that's the access to that house?
It is, yes. There is also cross access, another driveway that connects to the parking use for the Stefanos.
Can that driveway be utilized for anything at this point since it's only 15 feet?
And from a commercial standpoint,
Yes.
an emergency access.
So basically, it's just useless for any other purpose other than emergency access to the back part of that lot.
That's correct.
I noticed you have a sanitary and easement that's going to be moved. Are there any other easements that affect the property?
No, there aren't any. That the sanitary easement is the one that runs along the southern side of the northern property. And it was just, run to provide service to the Stefanos.
Okay.
So since the entire site's being redeveloped, that would be moved when we go through land development.
In regard to the current Stefano restaurant, let me ask you, let me rephrase that. And with regard to the restaurant you propose to build, will it be, I know the current Stefano restaurant was I believe, if I'm not mistaken, currently a house that was actually converted into a restaurant where the rooms are being utilized as dining rooms and every room is being sent. Is this more what you're proposing, less wide than the current restaurant? Or is it about the same?
I would say it's about the same. It's probably, yeah, it's about the same.
Will this new restaurant have a more friendlier use to it than what the current Stefano restaurant has as far as flow goes of traffic for restaurants?
Yes, I think because what we're trying to do is take that restaurant rather than trying keeping it and shoehorn a driveway around it. To relocate that, make it a more modern building. They are looking at, providing 24-foot wide access adjacent to that. So you have that area clear, no parking in that area so that there's no issue with vehicles backing up or anything like that.
By tearing the current restaurant down and putting this one up, how much space do you actually add to that driveway?
I haven't fully measured that, but I would estimate it to be about another 8 feet.
So almost a car width.
Almost a car width.
Thank you. At this time, that's all the questions I have.
Sean, can I ask just to follow up on
Sure,
that?
please.
The existing restaurant, Kevin, I believe, while they may be similar in size, I believe the existing restaurant is skewed at an angle away from the property lines, is it not?
That is correct.
Okay, so what you're proposing to do is take the new restaurant and push it back to the property line.
We're looking at,
I
straightening
think
it out.
that's where Mr. Shantz was going. What are going to be the differences that one could see in terms of traffic flow and so forth? So while the building may be the same, if someone walks away from it with the assumption that it's going to be sitting where it is, that's not correct.
Correct. It's going to be reoriented.
So by reorienting the restaurant, that's where you actually pick up about the 8 feet?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
I actually have no questions at this time. Attorney Schock, did
No.
you?
The answer's my.
Piper, do you need anything?
I have no questions.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to open the floor for questions only from members of the audience in chambers with us and anyone with us virtual. We'll try and trade about. So anyone wishing to ask a question of the testimony, just please come to the podium and identify yourself and give us your address. And please understand, you'll have an opportunity to testify later to make statements. So right now, I'm going to ask you to please phrase what you're doing in the form of a question. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Bruce Crane. It's 1143 Woodstown Road.
Go ahead, sir.
Question for Kranitz. Can you flip this around? Can you tell me how far from the edge of that parking lot to the property line?
Certainly 15 feet,
15 feet. And on this side?
15 feet.
15 feet. And is there going to be, it's going to be two-way traffic?
Yes.
Is there going to be any kind of shielding so it doesn't come in my bedroom window?
Whatever's required by the ordinance will be provided, yes.
So there is or there isn't, whatever's required by the ordinance. What is the
The ordinance requires screening, and that's all
Is that what
determined.
they require?
That's what they require, yes.
This dumpster you said before, what is the width of this property? And do you have these two properties indicated?
Yes.
Okay, and where's the
263 feet.
Where's the dumpster on this one? Show me where that dumpster's gonna be.
That dumpster would sit right here.
Right there? And you said that would be on the commercial property?
Yes,
Yes, but you said backed up to this one.
yes,
It's also backed up to this residential property here.
but outside the buffer, outside the required 15-foot buffer.
61 unit, how many 3 bedrooms, how many 2 bedrooms, how many 1 bedrooms?
I don't know the answer to that.
Mr. Kranitz, could we just clarify, because you keep referring to the plan. Can you move, Mr. Frick? Can you point out your property, because you're pointing to it, and I'm sorry, I can't see it.
Well, I couldn't see it back there.
Yeah, no problem.
Here, this one right here, right?
The bank, there's a gentleman's there.
And then here, the next one.
And this one's Mayling's.
Okay, so you're 2 behind the bank on that drawing. Bank, then 1, then you. Okay, thanks.
Oh, so you can't tell me how many 3 bedrooms, how many 2 bedrooms, how many 1 bedrooms? Can you tell me a total number of?
Mr. Kranitz, one moment. Attorney Preston, would you address the question, please?
Yeah, no, I don't understand the relevance of the question, first of all.
Well,
But
you don't understand the relevance. You know, I'm concerned about the trash. I'm concerned about how much trash. I'm concerned about flow of traffic. How many vehicles are going to be coming in at nighttime, shining in my bedroom window when I'm trying to sleep? I can't entertain in my backyard with
Mr. Kranitz.
mice.
Mr.
He
Kranitz.
asked me a question. I'm
I
answering his
know,
question.
and he shouldn't have done that, and that's why I'm stopping both
No,
of
he
you right
thinks-
now.
he thinks it's
Okay?
like a court of law.
No, please stop. Don't talk over me, anybody.
Hey.
Okay? Thanks. You need to ask one question. You can ask every question you want, but you got to ask one at a time, and you got to ask him to the witness about things he testified to. So you can ask him the question about how many units, but when he says, I don't know, you got to move on to another question about something he
I
testified.
can answer the question. I can answer it
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah.
It's the same number of units, whether it's in that building or 2 taller buildings.
Right, okay.
Same
so-
number of units, same number of
So,
bedrooms.
and then you said, how many bedrooms?
Yes.
And he said, I don't know.
Yes.
And if he doesn't know, then you can ask him the next
Well,
question.
Can I ask him?
When he won't testify, but if he has another witness who can answer that, you can ask them at that time. So you'll have a chance to ask anybody he calls that question and see if anybody can answer it for you.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
sorry. Yes, But please, one question at a time.
Okay, sorry about
Thanks,
that.
no
I'm a
problem.
little excited, you know. They want to stick them or
No problem. I let you roll
in my
I let
backyard,
you
you
roll
know?
for a while, but I got to 5 and I got to cut you off.
All right, all right. You know, where's the snow gonna go?
Okay.
Where's your snow gonna be pushed to?
Again, we can get into that. That's a planning issue. It's not really a zoning issue or why we're here this evening. There is space that's located along the Sunoco, in the rear of the Sunoco, that provides for snow removal.
So nobody really took any consideration into any of the neighbors.
It's being piled on the opposite side of where the neighbors are. Would you rather be put in the buffer?
Okay, one more question for you, or whoever. Do you want another 1.3 acres? I'll give you an extra access out on the Woodstown Road,
I can't answer that. Maybe someone later can.
1143 Woodstown Road.
Okay.
That's all at this time, but I want to reserve my right to come back up.
You absolutely have that right, and we'll welcome you back at that time. Let me just see, is there anyone with us virtually who would like to ask a question? If so, please unmute your microphone and identify yourself. Seeing no one or hearing no one, anyone else wishing to ask questions, please come to the podium, identify yourself, and give us your address.
Hello, Don Wetmore, 1201 Woodstown Road.
Could you spell your last name?
Sure, Wetmore.
And what was your address, sir? I'm sorry.
1201 Woodstown Road,
Thank you.
number 16. Could you, and maybe you did this earlier, could you talk about the house side shield and what that entails?
Certainly. Again, tonight we're not really talking about lighting, but just generally what happens with the lights is you have LED lights now. You used to have a lot of the shopping centers had the very wide stream lights spread all over the place. And what they would do is add a house side shield, which is essentially it blocks the light from that side.
Okay.
So when the project does get prepared for land development, we would do a photometric plan that would show what those light levels are.
Okay.
Now with the advent of LED lights, they also shine more directly down and have less spread. So those will be utilized for the site as well.
Okay. Okay. And could you clarify for you said the entrance way that would be expanded by the Stefano's restaurant, 24 feet?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Okay. In terms of, and you said in terms of runoff and drainage, that has not been determined yet, how that will actually play out?
That's correct, yes.
And question for the board, what is that process? If this gets approved, how does that get managed?
Yeah, we'll have Mr. Piper come, but again, you're not questioning the board, but go ahead, Mr. Piper.
Could you repeat the question, please?
No, I'm just curious how that process works if your project gets approved.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer.
Okay, or Kevin, yeah, you can answer it then. And Mr. Piper.
So tonight is zoning. So there's different ordinances that the city has. You have a zoning ordinance, you have subdivision land development. So this is merely the first step in the process. So we're asking for variances from the zoning code. Next step would be going for land development. Land development is when we do all those design things. We prepare a buffer plan. We work with the city forester. We work on traffic circulation with PennDOT. We've already had some initial meetings with them, but we have to also get an HOP, which is a highway occupancy permit for the new driveway and connection. As we go through land development, you'll be going to the planning commission meetings. I'm sure there'll be several. And a lot of these questions you have, probably the more appropriate place to ask those questions. Yes, sorry. I'm sorry.
No, thank you. That's good information.
But
So you're
Kevin-
saying the land development part would still have a form like this in some ways?
Can I ask this, maybe to try to help, I think where you're going.
Yeah.
I think what the gentleman's asking you about specifically is stormwater.
Yeah.
He doesn't, I don't think he needs to
So-
know what happened. He wants to know about stormwater and can you dump water on his property? That's what he wants to know.
Thank you.
So, yeah, and then as far as stormwater goes, the city reviews stormwater management. And then as part of outside agency approvals, because of more than 1 acre of disturbance, we are required to get an NPDES permit that gets reviewed, and we need a permit for that. So there's a separate set of stormwater management criteria for that as well.
Okay. It appears there's going to be some construction. What are the limits for construction for actual work?
I don't know that.
Okay. Okay. Because that's a concern as well. I had one more thing and I can't remember it. Oh, as far as the traffic, which there'll be more, are there studies that need to be done with this amount of people coming into our neighborhood and the amount of cars
For the PennDOT HOP, the highway occupancy
Yeah.
permit, there is a traffic study. So that's being coordinated with PennDOT.
Okay.
And the city is involved in reviewing and providing comment on that as well.
Okay. So in that traffic study, could they say you can't have that many cars in this area or that many cars accessing Linden Street or the surrounding streets?
They usually don't phrase it as you can't have that many. They would say these are the improvements that may be needed.
I think that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wetmore. Anyone else wishing to ask a question, please come to the podium and identify yourself.
Marilyn Wetmore, 1201 Woodstown Road, number 16. I just have just a few questions. The first one is in regard to the dumpster. Is it feasible that you can move it somewhere else, perhaps behind the Sunoco, or somewhere that it wouldn't be in the proximity of someone's personal backyard?
We did look at alternate locations. As you can imagine, with a trash truck, though, they need to have a way to enter directly. So where we have it shown here, if you want to swing around, he has a direct, is it up? Oh. He has direct access to get to the dumpster. If it's placed somewhere else, then you're creating.
What if it's back at the end of the Stefano's whole lot there?
Well, this is the side where all of the residences are, on that eastern side. So we're trying to put it.
Is there, I know that there's housing, do you know? Because there is a wooded area.
There's a small wooded, I think the housing starts right about here. We were trying to keep it away from that eastern property line.
Right. Okay. I have a question about the 24 feet. I know you're making it wider for cars. Is the entrance for the Stefano still going to be on the side? So there's still going to be people walking?
So one thing that we are looking at, in addition to the 24 feet, is there's going to be sidewalk that connects from the front sidewalk all the way through the back, ADA spaces, and a separate entrance. So you're not walking in the drive aisle.
Okay. And that sidewalk is on top of the 24 feet?
That's correct. It's another 5 feet.
Okay. And 24 feet is, I don't know how wide a car is off the top of my head, but like.
Car's
is that
about 8 feet.
there? Okay,
Yeah, so it's a
you
standard
have-
width.
Okay. And that's a standard width for a driveway?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I have one third question. I can't remember what it was. Okay, I'll reserve my right. I can't remember what the other.
Absolutely. Gentleman in the back has been very patient.
Yep.
Hi, my name is David Guo. I'm living in 1129 Busan Road.
Could you spell your, go ahead.
Last name is Guo, G like in George. Sorry, I don't speak good language.
No,
and,
you're fine. Go ahead, sir. Ask your
sorry if I say something inappropriate. And I have a very simple question. Can we see the trash bin? This is your trash bin, right?
Mhm.
And this is your border.
Yes, this is the bottom
This
property.
part is 1129.
Mhm.
Wait
Busan Road,
a
right?
sec, wait a sec. You're gonna have to speak in the microphone.
Oh.
because I'm having a hard time hearing you and understanding. you.
Right.
Speak in the microphone
Okay.
and the witness to just step back a little bit so I can.
Yes.
I'm not allowed to.
And so I'm just want to make sure this is your trash bin and this is the fence of my backyard. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you understand I don't like this situation, right?
I-
And second question, I'm sorry if I say
Was that a
anything
question?
inappropriate.
That was a
It was
question.
actually. That was a
That was a good question. Yes, I understand.
Second question. I'm sorry. Okay, so this building is you're talking about 4 floors building, right?
4 floors, yes.
And this is my backyard.
Yes.
So when my daughter to play again in my backyard, then she's what do you mean? All the people in your building will be able to watch her, right?
Yeah, that's very possible, yes.
Is that true?
That's very possible.
Okay, and I don't know. I don't know how to describe this situation. I don't know if you like it, if this in your case. That's all my concern.
Yeah. No, I
Sorry about that.
understand that.
Okay.
But this zoning district allows it to go up to 80 feet. So we're not asking for a variance of building height. We're just,
Not a lawyer.
I know, I'm
the
just
person.
saying that,
I was
yes, I
talking-
understand the concern. That's,
Okay, I was talking for my daughter and her dog. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions I had, sir? Yeah.
Don Wetmore, Buttstown Road. Will this building have decks or outside porches, lanais, whatever?
It'll be like about inset.
we have a witness that can speak to that later.
Thank you.
Okay. In the back row.
Oh.
Gerard Mead, 1201 Buttstown Road. May I use your pointer? MEAD.
Yes, sir.
This has to do with traffic. This is the new Stefanos, is that correct? And how many parking spaces are there around this building?
Sorry, my eyesight. So there are 200,
200?
over 200 spaces, yes.
Okay, 200 that are not there now.
Oh, there's, I don't know how many are there now. There's probably about 50 there now with the stuff.
There's some parking spaces here behind Stefano.
That's correct.
Yeah. Now, can we go back to the picture we're referring to? Okay. We have over 200 here. How many will be here behind Stefano's?
– 28, and then another 4 on the south side of the lane.
So well up above 200 in aggregate.
There's about 200 and roughly 230 spaces.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this intersection here where Nazareth Pike goes north and south, and Decatur Road ends here, is known to be a very dangerous intersection. And the access in and out of Stefano's restaurant is known to be very dangerous. Is it correct that these more than 200 vehicles coming and going, coming into park at the end of the day, leaving in the morning to go to work, maybe lunch and dinner, other cars stopping at Stefano's, we're going to have to go through here like it's a little street. It's the only entrance and exit to the property. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. A lot of traffic into an extremely dangerous intersection.
I don't know about the status of the intersection.
But I do.
Okay.
And that is my testimony.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Marilyn Wetmore, 1201 Buttstown Road, number 16. This is what I forgot before. All the mature trees, et cetera, that are currently on the fence line, they're not on the property of the condo association. Will those be removed?
Short answer is we don't know yet.
If they are removed, is there a requirement of replacing them with a adequate size? Like, so not a 3-foot arborvitae or tree
Yes,
that's gonna.
the city does have minimum sizes
Okay.
that you have to meet. The screening also requires a mix of deciduous and evergreen trees
Okay.
so that you have, let's say, year-round screening rather than just with deciduous trees where the leaves fall in the winter and fall.
Okay, because I think one of the important things to point out is there's a lot of mature vegetation there currently that is acting as a buffer. Just curious if that's going to remain.
Bruce Kranitz. Is there going to be any speed bumps or humps in the parking lot to keep the speed down so people aren't using it like a racetrack to go round and round?
At this point, no, there's no speed bumps or humps proposed.
Is there any guardrails that would prevent a vehicle from going from that property to our property with our grandkids playing in the backyard?
No, there's no guide rail. We meet the minimum setback requirements
So
from the city.
all you do is meet the minimum. That's what you're telling me.
Oh, we
So
exceed it in
life-
other places.
You know what?
Life doesn't matter.
You do have to let him finish
Right.
his answer.
It's not meant to be an argument either. You ask the questions, he answers it, and I speak and you don't. Right. I would appreciate if everybody would respect that going forward. We're not here to debate this. I don't